Back to the NFL mandatory minicamp underway for the Eagles, who've officially moved on from a disastrous ending to last season, which included losses in 6 of their last 7 games, including the playoffs. Coaching staff has been overhauled, including a new play caller and Kellen Moore. New on SportsCenter, Lane Johnson and others speaking about the new look offense.
I think Kellen's been very good with his communication. Things have been going smooth, and so, stuff that we weren't good at last year, we're working on.
I've said it to Kellen probably a handful of times, like, man, I really like that. I really like the way that looks, and obviously not going to get into exactly what that is, but Kellen has a brilliant offensive mind, has a great, unique way of explaining it to his coaches and to the players. And just, again, like I said, really excited about where we are, and some of those tweaks are really awesome, and looking forward to seeing them as this practice goes today and then as the year goes.
I think right now at this time, everybody's still trying to figure it out. Everybody's still trying to get comfortable in offense. So, it's hard to just be like, oh, this guy's doing that, this and that, when everyone is kind of still trying to figure it out.
So Nick Sirianni is going to hope to get a bit more out of his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, this season after he had a bit of a down year this past year. Hurts' QBR dropped from 68 2 years ago to 60 last season, as well as an increase in interceptions with 15. That was third most in the NFL, as we welcome in our quarterback, Tim Hasselbeck, to talk about the Eagles' offense. And, Tim, look, Kellen Moore's got the bona fides. He's got a good quarterback. So when you put those two together, what is it about Moore's offense that could fit Jalen Hurts' style that you like?
I think in some ways, Matt, we have to look at this a little bit like, Lamar Jackson getting Todd Monken a year ago. And everyone said, okay, well, what does that mean for the Ravens offense, and specifically Lamar Jackson? Does it mean he's going to develop as a passer? Well, he did in Baltimore. And I think with Kellen Moore in Philadelphia, the question now ends up being, all right, does Jalen Hurts develop as a passer? You just had the numbers up. 22 touchdowns 2 years ago, 23 last year, but it was the 15 interceptions a year ago. So does he improve in this passing league as a passer? And then for Kellen Moore, what can Jalen Hurts do to help you? Because Jalen Hurts does a tremendous job with the RPO game, does a tremendous job as a designed runner. And so now how do you incorporate that into what you've already been good at coaching? And I think that really could end up being the recipe for success for Philadelphia.
Yeah, those two get in a room. Hey, what do you like? What do you like to call? What do you like to run? We know he's got the talent. We know Philadelphia's got the talent, although down the stretch last year, Hurst struggled, throwing 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in the final 4 regular season games. They need to get something to work as the Eagles are in that championship window. Tim said tight.
Okay, so there's a few things that I really want to talk about. One, it was interesting to see him pretty much kind of say something positive about the Eagles. I keep seeing not a ton of positive sound bites in the media for the Eagles. So that was, it wasn't like the most glowing positive remarks, but definitely still better than a lot of the things we see out there. But I'll say this whole idea that Jalen Hurts' passing needs to be developed, I disagree with that, because he's actually a great passer. Okay? Listen, does he have the cannon and the accuracy of like a Joe Burrow or like a Herbert necessarily? Like, no, but that's okay. What Jalen Hurts does, he had one of the highest percentages, highest success rates in for like tight window throws. If you look at any of the advanced analytics of Jalen Hurts, like this idea that he's not a good passer of the football is just not an accurate representation of him. Like, I don't know if we're just kind of lumping these quarterbacks where we assume just because they run around a little bit and look a certain way that they automatically like need to have their passing game develop. Like that's not Jalen Hurts' background here. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand that Jalen Hurts runs too, but in no way is he like a running quarterback in the traditional sense of like a Lamar Jackson. Yes, the interceptions were high last year, without a doubt. And when you look at the tape, a lot of it was bad decision making, bad reads that I think, I'm not going to put all that blame on an OC, but we often see that. We do. You see that a lot of times, that when an OC doesn't have a good grasp of what's going on, they're not good at putting their quarterback in a good position to succeed. Now, don't get me wrong. It's some of that responsibility does fall on the quarterback. It does fall on Josh Allen. It does fall on Jalen Hurts. But to me, it's a lot of shared responsibility here. I mean, it really is. Not to mention, they were putting a lot of the, I don't want to say responsibility, but a lot of the burden on Jalen to like kind of go out and win games. And that is a harder thing to do for a Jalen Hurts when guys are not being schemed open. He's banged up with his knee. He is a smaller quarterback. So like Josh Allen can barrel through defensive linemen like game after game after game because he's a beast. He's an animal. The dude's like 9 feet tall, 400 pounds. He's just a monster. He's an athletic freak. Jalen Hurts does not have that. I think Jalen Hurts is susceptible to getting banged up. I mean, we've seen that within the last couple of seasons. And so I really think what he'll be able to do with Kellen Moore and also Saquon is take off some of that burden of him, especially running, and that hopefully the ideal scenario for him will be for him to be more mobile and to extend the play and get some yards like a Patrick Mahomes, but not be this power runner, not be this guy where it's like, okay, we need to rely on your physicality to get to move the chains. Again, that can be used strategically, but not a foundational component. So I don't see it as Kellen Moore is going to help develop Jalen Hurts' passing game, but more like develop the passing offense for the Eagles, which is different. Because Jalen Hurts only has to work on so much stuff. And don't get me wrong, every quarterback can continue to grow and become better. So in no way am I saying that Jalen Hurts is just this complete, great, elite quarterback and has nothing else to work on. Anyone who says otherwise is a hater. That's not what I'm saying either. But I just think like that emphasis made it feel to me that we were pretty much saying Jalen Hurts doesn't have an arm and now we have to develop his arm. That I just wholeheartedly disagree with. I mean, just Google Jalen Hurts throwing highlights and you're going to see what the dude can do. I mean, honestly, really. He is not this like lacking passer of the football. And I know like the tush push and some of his runs get a lot of the attention, but make no mistake about it, that's not all he is as a quarterback. So that's just it was just weird. But I do think that the passing offense needs to be developed. The identity needs to be developed. Players need to actually be schemed open. The play calling actually needs to be appropriate play calling. Like that, balanced run game, like all of those things need to take place. And that is what Shane Steichen as the OC brought. And so that's why I think with Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts, like that's what you're going to be trying to recapture in a lot of ways. And when you have a quarterback like a Jalen Hurts, like you always want to be able to use his strengths and minimize their weaknesses. But again, some of the strengths, when the strengths are relying on some physical, some more physical aspects, you want to be smart as to how you go about doing it. And then to me, again, this is what the issue is when you have like a Josh Allen. You're like, this guy's so physical, he's a beast. Let's rely on that. And again, that wears you down. That wears you down. That shortens your career. That wears you down in the season. And it just becomes too much of a burden for even a beast of a physical athlete like a Josh Allen. And so to me, it's like, hopefully Kellen Moore can come at this from a more balanced way of like, okay, we know what Jalen Hurts can do. We know some of his ability to run, do an RPO, like all this type of stuff. But how can we keep things balanced? We want him to be 100% fully healthy, because the truth is, in 2023, last season, he was injured by the end of the season, right? I mean, if we really thought the whole season, his knee was kind of messed up as well as his dislocated finger. And then the season before that, right, he hurt his shoulder. And it was like he wasn't even really fully healthy 100% even in the Super Bowl. If you remember, his whole Hail Mary, like, barely got down the field. Like, he was clearly not 100% in the way that we thought. And I remember in the playoffs, people kept talking about, like, is he 100%? Is he 100%? But, of course, they found a way. And so, to me, it's like how to keep Jalen Hurts also healthy as well. Minimize the hits, minimize the workload. To me, that is what has to be at the top of the list of Kellen Moore, is like, how can we distribute this offense where everyone can stay healthy and fresh? We're not going to rely on Saquon to carry this load every single game. We're not going to rely just on Jalen Hurts to carry this load every single game. There's enough weapons to be able to distribute the ball to have an equal workload on everyone so that they are all fresh, healthy, and can go deep. Because again, make no mistake about it, the Eagles are a bona fide franchise where it is playoff success. It is NFC championships and Super Bowls. Like, that's what it is. Get to the NFC championship game, get to the Super Bowl. That's the franchise that they are. That is why they have the third most playoff wins in the NFL in the last 25 years, right? I mean, they're only behind the Ravens and the dynasty of the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. So that is who they are. They're not okay with just winning one playoff game or just winning 2 playoff games. It's getting there. It's being competitive, getting to the NFC Championship game, getting to the Super Bowl, and actually having a real legitimate chance at winning, and not just, we're just happy to be there. So the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because health is important. Health is crucial, right? Like, the healthier you are as a roster, the more likely you are to make a deep run. So there is no just, hey, we just got to go all in on the regular season and hope for the best. And you see a lot of desperate teams do that. You saw that with the Buffalo Bills. It was, let's just get on the back on Josh Allen, and he's just going to have to barrel his way into the playoffs. That's not how you win Super Bowls. It's just not. You relieve the burden of your stars, and then you can rely on them heavily in the playoffs, because now they're ready to go. They didn't necessarily rely, the Kansas City Chiefs didn't necessarily rely heavily on Patrick Mahomes' magic to get to the playoffs. But they did once they were in the playoffs. They didn't rely on Travis Kelce to rewind the clock to get to the playoffs. But they did once they were in the playoffs. Travis Kelce needed to step up and make some of those unbelievable catches, whether it be against the Ravens or wherever. And they needed Patrick Mahomes to perfect decision-making, perfect play calling by Andy Reid. But they didn't rely on that throughout the regular season. And because of that, it was there waiting for them come time playoffs. So it's a real thing of you running out of gas. If you have to give it your all just to get to the wild card, the chances of you going into the next round, not going to happen. If you need to give it your all just to get to the NFC Championship game, there's a great chance you're not going to win the NFC Championship game. If you have to give it your all just to get to the Super Bowl, there's a good chance you're not going to get to the Super Bowl. That's just the way it works. I mean, it's like that in any aspect of life. If you have to empty the tank just to get to the next level, you're probably not going to succeed at that level. So to me, that's why I'm just going to really preach balance for the Eagles. And of course, Kellen Moore and the way how he's going to hopefully run that offense. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you think about these comments about that Jalen Hurts needs to be developed as a better passer? And is it a recipe for success for Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.